Good morning. Good morning, my students. Hello, how are you? Today is Wednesday, April the 29th, and here we are almost at the second half of the week, and it's our last week of learning for most learners who have completed all assignments, okay? And who is on track to finish the year in second grade, okay? So just a couple of more. I got you guys have been checking things, and I just thank you for those who've been on time and participating well with everything. We have a way to start our morning this morning. It's called We're All in This Together. Your body. Think about your body. It's made up of trillions of cells, which are cells are the basic blocks of life, all life. Scientists think that your body has somewhere around 37.2 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells. And every cell has a job. Some cells work to build up your skin and your bones. Others produce your energy and carry oxygen. Others do your thinking for you. Some sense what's happening around you. Some attack germs, and the list can go on and on and on. So your body is like an electric company, a transportation center, a communications network, a hospital, a battlefield, and many more all rolled into one. That's the way you were created, with all of your cells working together to keep you healthy and up and running. Now, here's the thing, your cells have to work together or your body doesn't work. If your heart cell says, I just don't feel like pumping anymore, or your nerve cell says, I'm just not feeling it today, then your body wouldn't work correctly. Did you know that everybody here also has a job on earth? Okay. Your job might be to be a great leader one day. Your job might be to be a great follower. Your job might be to be an artist, or maybe it's going to be just to be a mom or dad. Maybe you're going to be or you are great at math. Maybe your job might be to feed the poor, help the sick. Maybe your job might be to take out the trash from people's neighborhoods one day. We all have different jobs, and so it takes us all to work together, just like your body parts have to work together for you to have a healthy, happy body. One little fact to end on, your body actually has more bacteria cells than human cells. Okay, you might think that's kind of gross, but bacteria cells are so small that if you collected all the bacteria in your body, it would only fill up a half a gallon. Remember yesterday we learned about a gallon? Okay. It helps you digest your foods, fight off illnesses. So, actually, even though you might say that's not very good to think about, it's really good for your body to have that. Now, let's go ahead and begin with our lessons today. If you have your piece of paper and pencil handy, you're going to need to write down the words that we got on Monday and the words that we got on Tuesday. So you're going to need your Riggs journal handy or your paper that you're keeping up with, and you're going to need paper and pencil. Ms. Gaylord's going to call out the first 12 words, and then you'll have time later today to check them and to write any you missed 3 times each, okay? All right, we will begin. Number 1, your word is thumb. Thumb. Singular. 1 thumb. Number 2, the word is till. Till, to dig up. We had to till the garden to get ready for spring. Till. Number 3 is the plural form, tills. Tills. Amy tills the soil, then her mom drops in the seed. Tills. Number 4, reprove. Reprove. Reprove means to scold. Reprove. Grandma did reprove me when I almost touched the fire. Reprove. Number 5, mixture. Mixture. Remember, in science, a mixture can be taken apart once you put it together. Like raisins and grapes and apples can be taken apart. Mixture. And number 6 is nail. Nail. The next 4 words are math words. Number 7, cup. Cup. Do you remember how many ounces are in a cup? 8. Good. Number 8, pint. A pint is about this big. This is about a cup. This is a pint. Pint. A pint is how many cups? 2. Number 9, quart. Quart. Okay, a quart is a little bit bigger than this. A quart is how many cups? 4. You can put 4 cups of water in here. Quart. Okay, the next word is gallon. Gallon. There are 16 cups in the gallon. Gallon. 4 quarts. Okay, 4 of these would fit into a quart. Number 11, watch. Watch can be a noun. Check your watch, or I can watch you. That's a verb. Watch. Number 12 is trial. Trial. Okay, now that you've gotten all 12 words, don't forget, after the lesson, go back and check them from your Riggs journal where you're about to write your next words, or you can have somebody at home check them. Make sure you're writing the words 3 times that you're missing just to practice. Okay, now today will be our last list of 6 words. This is it. Tomorrow, Thursday, we'll take our last test. And so these will be the last words that we write for markings. Okay, after you get today's words, you can fill in all 18 words on your Riggs document. You can write 3 sentences with choosing 3 out of the first list, 3 sentences by choosing 3 words out of the second list, and 3 sentences by choosing 3 words out of the third list. So after today, you can turn in your Riggs work for the week. Hit the turn in button after you've typed it all in with your sentences, okay? All right. Today we have word number 13, and the word is batter. Batter can have several meanings. Now, in our word meaning for the day, when we go to cover reading skills, you'll see that dictionaries can have 2 or more meanings of a word. What are some word meanings that you know of for the word batter? Okay, the batter is up at the plate. That would be a noun. Okay, the batter. Or I'm going to stir the batter to make a cake. That would also be a noun. Okay, very good. Let's look at how to spell batter. How many syllables are in batter? 2. Very good. It starts with the B. B has 1 sound, so no markings. Ah, ah, ah. A. Very good. What are the sounds of A? Ah, A, aw. First sound, no markings. When you have two syllables, remember we often double those at the end of a syllable. So the t, you don't hear the first t. Remember that? We've talked about that. You underline it twice because that first t is silent. You hear the second t. We often double L, F, S, sometimes T and P when you have 2-syllable words. Batter. This first T is silent. Shh. Batter. Okay, so we double the T's because they're on different syllables. And then the last one is the of her. Since it's a 2-letter sound, we underline it once. Batter. It's a noun. Very good. Okay. The second word is cookbook. Cookbook. Have you ever helped mom or grandma open a cookbook and get a recipe? Okay. Cookbook. 2 syllables. C. Perfect. C has 2 sounds. K, s. First sound, no markings. Ugh. Okay, that's the 2-letter sound. Uh. Okay, aw. 2-letter sounds. Okay, it's the second one, not the but the Cook book. You hear that sound twice. Not the but the second one. Cook. K. K has 1 sound. K, no markings. Syllable dot. Okay, cook, book. Sounds very similar, right? B has no markings. B makes 1 sound. Book is the same. O as in cook. Okay. Cook, book. Also another K because K makes the 1 sound. cook, book. Very good. Okay. Word number 3, voyage. A voyage can be a noun or a verb. I'm going to take a voyage on the sea, a noun. I would like to voyage across the ocean is the verb. V, 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 v. V makes one sound. V. No markings. Oi. Oi, the oi that we do use at the end of English words. English words can end in Y. So oi, this is the oi that we do use in English words. Voy, syllable dot. Now, this is a, but is it a, or a thinking cap? It's a think to spell. Okay, the next 3 words after this also has the same thinking cap, a. Think to spell, voy, j, j. G makes 2 sounds, j, g. First sound, no markings, and E, okay? It is job number 3 for the E, voyage. The next 3 words has the j at the end, udge. What other words do you know that rhyme with voyage? Udge. We'll find 3 more, okay? The next one is discourage. That's 1. Discourage. How many syllables in that? 3. D. D makes 1 sound. D, no markings. I. I, what are the sounds of I? I, E. First sound, no markings. S. What are the sounds of S? Z. First sound, no markings. Dis, syllable dot. C. C makes 2 sounds. First sound, no markings. Okay, now the next part is a little tricky. It's an O, U, and an R. Okay, so discourage. The of nurse. You do not hear the O, so we underline it twice. Discur. It's like that O is not there, but it is. So we underline it twice because it's silent. Discur, syllable dot, edge. Same as voyage. A is a thinking cap. Doesn't sound like a, aw. G, first sound, and E, again, job number 3. Discourage. Now, discourage here can be a verb. I don't want to discourage you from learning action. Discourage. Or it can be a noun, the opposite of courage. What is courage? Your bravery, okay? When you feel brave, you have courage. Another word that sounds like discourage is encourage. That's a verb. Do you know what it means to encourage someone? Okay, to be positive and make them feel better. Encourage looks similar to this. We just need to change the e. E makes 2 sounds. E. It's the first one, no markings. N makes 1 sound, no markings. And then courage looks the same. Encourage. C. O silent. The of nurse. Syllable dot. A, thinking cap A. G, G, E, silent. Job number 3. Silent E, job number 3. Okay, good job. Discourage, encouraged. These can be 2 verbs. Another word that sounds like a j at the end is a noun. It's called storage. How many syllables in storage? 2. 2 syllables. S. S begins with S. Makes 2 sounds. S. Z. S. First sound. S. No markings. T. T makes 1 sound, no markings. Okay, or. That's a 2-letter. Not like works, but or. Store. O-R. Store, syllable dot, and then your same edge. A, thinking cap A. G, G, and same E, silent final E. Job number 3. Okay? So, storage is a noun. I need to find some storage to keep my things. Okay? Here are 6 words for today. Batter, cookbook, voyage, discourage, encourage, and storage. Good. See, I have a live listener today. Hi, give a shout out to Charisma. She's live on my video this morning. Hello, Charisma. Okay, these are the 6 words. We will look now at the parts of speech. Okay. All right, let's start with our nouns. What words on that list are nouns? Let's see. A noun can be what? 4 things: person, place, thing, or idea. Okay, so we've got some that can be several parts of speech in a dictionary. One is this one. Okay. This one is batter. Batter can be a person that hits with a bat, like in baseball, or batter can be something you cook with. Batter is a noun. Okay, cookbook is a noun, a thing. Both of these are things. Cookbook. Voyage can be a noun or a verb. We're going to take a voyage over the sea. And one more is storage. We would write storage in your noun section as well. It is a thing, storage. Okay, all right. The next one is verb. What is an action that you see on the list? Okay, you can voyage across the ocean. So the voyage could be an action. Discourage. I am discouraged by my grade. And encourage. I hope to encourage my students to finish up their work. Okay. All right. So make sure you have your parts of speech listed. There was no adjectives today, so we just have nouns and verbs. Okay. All right. So you can put your Riggs Journal up to the side, and now we can finish with our last phonograms today. Okay, this will be our last list of phonograms because many of you will be finishing up on Friday. Okay. All right, so let's look at the sounds of A. What are the 4 sounds of A? A, aw. C, 2 sounds. K, S. D, 1 sound. D. F, one sound. G, one sound. G, J, two sounds. G, J. O, four sounds. Ah, O, oo, ah. S, two sounds. S, z. Good. Q, U, one sound. Qu. B, one sound. B, b. E, two sounds. E. H, one sound. I, three sounds. I, E. J, one sound. J. K, one sound. K. L, one sound. L. M, one sound. M. N, one sound. N. P, one sound. P. Let's do our alliteration for the last time. Had a little pig, put him in a pen, fed him on peach peelings. One day my little pig, he went pop. R, one sound. R. T, one sound. T. U, four sounds. U, oo, V, one sound. V. W, one sound. X, one sound. X. Y, four sounds. Y, I, E. Z, one sound. Z. Okay, let's look at our two-letter sounds. The of her, the of early, the of works, the of nurse. Which words on our list had the of nurse? Okay, two. Encourage, discourage. Good. The of first. Shh. Used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, but not at the beginning of most syllables after the first one, except for the ending ship. E always says E. A, two-letter A that we do use at the end of English words. A, two-letter A that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. Ow, oh, cow and snow. Ow, oh, ooh, ooh. Do we have one that had this? Not today. We had the double O. All that we do use at the end of English words. All that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with you. Ooh, you that we do use at the end of English words. Ooh, you that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with you. Oi that we do use at the end of English words. What word did we have today that sounded with the oi? Voyage. Good. Oi that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. Ooh, oh. Ooh, The second one is the Cook book. Has it twice. Cookbook. Shk, sh, shk, sh. Ng. Very good. A. R. K. Two-letter K used after a single vowel that says a, e, a. Ed, d, t. Past tense ending. Or. What word do we have that had or today? Storage. Nice. Hua. Ooh, I, that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? English words do not end with I. O, the O of boat. A-E that we do use at the end of English words. A-E that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. A four-letter A. E-I, our backwards phonogram. We say E-I, but we write I-E unless it's after a C. Three-letter I. Two-letter used at the beginning of a base word. Two-letter 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 used both at the beginning and end of a base word. Three-letter j used after a single vowel that says ah, eh, of. O, the O of toe. Three-letter ch used after a single vowel that says ah, eh, short letter sh used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Tall letter sh used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Z used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. And o, oo, uff, off, aw, ow. O, oo, uff, off, aw, ow. And that, my friends, is the last time I believe you'll do the phonogram cards if you have finished all of your assignments. If you have not finished all of your assignments, that you may have to join me later, but that may be the last time you do your phonogram cards. I hope that you have learned them all this year and previous years and that you use them every day when you are reading, okay? Very good. Guess what today I have for my friends? Some of you will like this, some of you may not like it as much. But today I have some characters from Elsa. These are my stars today. You get one Elsa. All right. If you have your materials printed out already, and if you are following with me in our book, we are in math materials, okay? We have math materials today for Tuesday. Under your Google Classroom where it says math materials, there are some PDF sheets, okay? If you look there, you can see the one we're going to be using today is on word problems, okay? Let's see which one it is. Word problems number 1, it says. Okay. Here we are with our money. Again, today we're going to be using this. Now, don't forget to complete the homeworks every day. Miss Gaylord grades those and puts a grade into the grade book for those, okay? All right, so I'm going to start with this, and it's talking about a student named Owen. So I'm going to just write Owen so we cannot lose track of what we're doing today, okay? All right, so it says Owen has 4 dimes, 3 nickels, and 16 pennies. If you've printed out your worksheet, you don't have to write this out. But if you don't have your worksheet, you may want to get a piece of paper and write this out with me, okay? All right, so 4 dimes, 3 nickels, and 16 pennies. How much does he have? Okay, so let's look and start with our dimes. If I had 1 dime, how much money do I have? 10 cents, okay? If I have 4 dimes, let's count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40. Now, there's several ways to write it. I want you to get in the habit of writing it with a decimal point because in 3rd grade, that's the way you'll write it, okay? 40 cents. Owen has 3 nickels, okay? Let's see if I can find how much is 1 nickel? 5 cents. Let's count by fives and count up to 3 nickels. Ready? 5, 10, 15. So I'm going to put 15 with a decimal point, 1, 5. Okay, now I know how much 4 dimes is, 0.40, 3 nickels, 0.15, 16 pennies. Okay, the penny is our least valued coin, and the way we write 16 pennies would be decimal point 16, okay? Now I'm going to transfer those to another board to show you how can we add those up. How much money does he have? Let's write down how much money we had with dimes. How much was it? 40 cents. Write this on paper if you don't have your worksheet. How many nickels did he have? He had 15 cents worth. He had 3. And how many pennies does he have? 16, which means 16 cents. You see how Miss Gaylord has put a decimal point and 2 digits behind it? Yesterday, she told you always put a 0 in front of the 1 or the 5 if you have it. If it's less than 10, you need to put a 0 there, right? Okay, so let's now add. Let's look at our column here. 5 and 6 would be how much? 11. Put down the 1, carry the 1. 1 and 4 is 5 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 7. Okay, so when we want to write our answer, make sure you're writing the dollar sign and then the decimal point, and that is 71 cents. Now, there is no dollar there. It's less than $1, so you can't put any dollars in the column for dollars. There's no dollars. It's just 71 cents. Now, what would that look like? 71 cents in change, okay? I would get out 4 dimes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that would be how many cents? 40, okay? And then I would find 3 nickels. Let's see what I can find here. 1, 2, 3. So I added my 40 cents to the 15. And then I added 16 pennies, and I count out 71 cents. Very good. Okay. Now, number 2 is a little bit more. I'm going to put Eli at the top of this one. If you don't have a worksheet and you're writing them on paper, you can do the same thing I am. Number 2, this is Eli. Okay? Eli found 1 quarter, 1 dime, and 2 pennies in his desk. And he found 16 pennies and 2 dimes in his backpack. How much money does he have in all? What are the key words in that phrase? In all. Does that mean to add or subtract? We're going to be adding. Okay, so let's look and see what we need. He only found 1 quarter. So can we write that? Yes, we can. What is the value of 1 quarter? I write it 0.25, okay? He found 1 dime in his desk, but 2 dimes in his backpack. How many dimes would that be? 1 dime in the desk plus 2 more in the backpack is a total of 3 dimes. How do we write 3 dimes? 10, 20, 30. So we would put a decimal point, 30 cents for the dimes. Okay? So I'm going to just show you Q for quarter, D for dimes. It didn't say he found any nickels, so we will let that, no, we will not write any nickels. It said he found 2 pennies in his desk and then 16 pennies in his backpack. What should we do with those 2 numbers? Add. 2 plus 16 is how many? 18. So we need to write 18 cents. And we'll put a P beside it because it's pennies. He's got 1 quarter, 3 dimes, and 18 pennies. Can you find how many he has in all? Take a minute, and I want you to add on your paper how many he has in all. Go ahead. Okay. How much is 5 and 0? 5 plus 8, 13. Put down the 3, carry the 1. 1 and 2, 3, 3 and 3, 6, 6 and 1, 7. How much does Eli have now? We put a dollar sign, decimal point, 73, which equals 73 cents. Nice job. Okay, couple more problems. Now, if you're writing on paper, write down a number 3, and her name is Carrie. This problem is Carrie. Carrie had 2 dimes, 1 quarter, and 11 pennies in her pocket. Then she bought a soft pretzel for 35 cents. How much money does Carrie have left? Oh, this is a 2-part problem. Remember how it's been a while, but we did some 2-step word problems? This is what it is. First, let's figure out how much Carrie has, okay? It says she has 2 dimes, 1 quarter, and 11 pennies. Notice how Miss Gaylord likes to take the biggest piece of money first. What's the biggest piece of money in dimes, quarter, and pennies? Quarter. Okay, it says she's got 1. How much money is 1 quarter worth? 25 cents. 25. So I put decimal point 25. It says she has 2 dimes. How much money is 1 dime? 10 cents. So let's count by tens. 10, 20 would be 20 cents. So I'm going to add that underneath. Make sure that I line my numbers up with the decimal point. She has 11 pennies in her pocket. How much is 11 pennies? 11 cents. I'm going to write down a decimal point. I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to write down 11. Let's figure out how much money she has first. How could I do this? Would I add or subtract? I would add. Very nice. Okay. Let's start over here. 5 and 1 is what? 6, and 2 and 2. 4 plus 1 is 5. So Carrie has 56 cents. Now, the second part of the problem is to say that she wants to buy something. What did Carrie want to buy? A soft pretzel. Very good. Do you remember what I said, how much the pretzel was? 35 cents. She has 56. I'm going to transfer this here. She has 56 cents. So I'm going to write it like that. The pretzel she wants to buy is 35 cents. How much does she have left? What's the key word there in that question? Have left. Does have left mean to add or subtract? Subtract. Also, the key word buy means subtract. Good. You found that one too. Let's start in this first column. Can I take 5 from 6? Yes. What would I have? 1. Can I take 3 from 5? Yes. I get 2. Don't forget to bring down your decimal point and put your dollar sign. How much money does Carrie have left? 21 cents. 21 cents. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's continue and let's look at how many their problems there are left. Okay. If I scroll down the page, there are 6 on the page. Let's do one more and then let's see if you can solve 2 on your own. Okay. This problem is number 4. Write a number 4 and his name is Ethan. If you want, or if you're keeping track, write down Ethan. Okay. Let's see what this problem says. Ethan has 67 cents. Okay. That's what he starts out with. 67 cents. He gave 1 quarter and 6 pennies to his sister. How much does he have left? Again, this is a 2-part problem. We have to find out how much he gave to his sister. So I'm going to write down the word gave away. And we're going to figure out, first of all, how much he gave away. It says he gave away 1 quarter. How would I write 1 quarter? 0.25. and 6 pennies. Okay, be careful when you write 6 pennies. Is it 0.6 or 0.06? I told you that yesterday, 0.06. Okay, so when he gave away this amount and this amount, would I add or subtract? I need to add these up to figure out how much he gave away. Let's look at the first column. How much is 5 and 6? 11. Carry the 1. 1 and 2. 3 and 0 is 3. Bring down the decimal point and write the dollar sign. How much did he give to his sister? 31 cents. But that's not the answer to the problem. The problem said Ethan had 67 cents. Okay, he started out with 67 cents. He gave away this amount, 31. So I'm going to write 31 underneath the 67. Now, the question is, how much does he have left? Does the keyword have left mean to add or subtract? Subtract. Good. You find the answer and then tell me out loud. What'd you get? 7 minus 1 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Don't forget the decimal point and the dollar sign. Good. Okay. Now you have 2 more problems to do on your own. If you found the document, you know that it says there are 4 dimes and 3 nickels in Susan's piggy bank. Nevaeh has 17 pennies and 3 nickels in her penny bank. What's the total in both piggy banks? Are you going to add or subtract? Add. Good. Number 6 says Tyson had 1 quarter, 4 dimes, 4 nickels, and 5 pennies. First, you have to figure out what he has. Then it says he gave 57 cents to his cousin. Then, so you would, if he gave it away, you would subtract it. How much does he have left? Think about those before you solve the problem, okay? Your job is to do the next 2 problems on your own, okay? And then you'll be ready for the homework for today, okay? Don't forget, you have to complete all 4 homeworks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get the credit, okay? And they each have a grade on them. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's look then at what your next star would be. Your next star is my favorite, Olaf. You got Olaf for your next star. Thank you for doing a good job. If you need to take a pause, you may do so. If you need to click stop on the video and go to the restroom or take a quick stretch break, get some water, do that. Okay, the next thing that you need to look at is your reading book. If you have printed out your materials, you know that the Wednesday, it has using a dictionary. Now, Miss Gaylord picked that for today because we talked about some of our Riggs words that had multiple meanings. Do you know what I mean by multiple meanings? Sometimes a word can have more than one definition in the dictionary. We've talked about this a lot this year. Okay, I just gave you an example off our list. Batter, okay? A batter is a person hitting a baseball, the batter. But batter can also be what you cook with. See how that's 2 definitions? All right, so let's look at our book. If you've printed out your papers, we're on 442. A dictionary tells a word's definition or what the word means. Now, you know, if you've opened up a dictionary, you can find more than just the meaning of a word. What else can you find? Sometimes you see pictures. You can find the part of speech. Good. You can find the spelling of the word. You can find if how to pronounce the word. We call that pronunciation. Good job. Well, a dictionary also gives the definition is what the word means. Now it says, how can you find the correct meaning of a word? Read each meaning to figure out which definition makes sense. Some dictionaries give you a sentence after they give you the meaning to help you understand the meaning of a sentence, okay? So the first word we're going to consider today is the word in your dictionary, block. Now, when you look at a dictionary, this is called an entry word. Sometimes in some dictionaries, it's darkened in dark black print. I'm going to underline it because I want you to see that it stands out. The word we're looking at today is a block. Block can have two definitions. Okay. It can also have two parts of speech. You can put the book on top of the block. Okay, like your building block. You can ride your bike around the block, right? You can, in karate, you can block a kick. Okay, block can have many definitions. We're only going to look at two today. Number one, the definition number one says a block is a piece of wood or hard plastic used as a toy. Okay, now you remember as a child, you might have played even in pre-kindergarten or so, with a piece of wood. Your blocks was a fun station to play with at school. A piece of wood, building blocks. Some of you still like to play with building blocks in my room. Okay, it can be used as a toy. Notice it gives you a sentence after the word block. My little sister lost the red block she was playing with. So not only did it give you the definition, then it gave you a sentence with the word. You know how in our Riggs words, Miss Gaylord's always asking you to write sentences? That's why. So you can practice, okay? So here's the first definition, a piece of wood, and then it gives you a sentence. The second definition is an area of a city. Okay, an area of a city with streets on all four sides. I live in the 200 block of my street. An area of a city with streets on four sides. Then it gives you a sentence. My best friend and I live on the same block. You see, that's a very different definition than a piece of wood, a block, or an area of a city. We live on the same block. Now, our job today is to look at these sentences and figure out which definition are we talking about. Is it definition number one or is it definition number two? Let's look. Use the dictionary page above to find the correct meaning of each underlined word. Write the meaning on the line. Okay, let's look at sentence number one. Our class used blocks to make a model of our school. Okay, our class used blocks to make a model of our school. Is that going to be a piece of wood you're using or an area of a city? We used blocks to make a model. It's going to be number one. So you're going to write, if you've printed out the paper, you're going to write the definition number one, a piece of wood or hard plastic used as a toy. Okay. And I'm going to let you do that later because we need to move on. Number two, we walked around the block to look at the building. Okay. If we can walk around the block, is that a piece of wood or is that an area of a city? That's an area of a city with streets on four sides. So you're going to write that in number two. Number three, our school takes up a whole city block. And do you know how Savannah Classical is long? It takes up the whole block. You know how our street on Anderson Street, it's long. If you ever ride by the front of the school, You can see that it's long. It takes up the whole block. Is that a piece of wood or is that an area of a city? Okay, that's an area of a city. Good. Area of a city with streets on 4 sides. And number 4, we used every block we had to build our model. We used every block that we had. Okay, would that be something like this? A block? Or would it be an area of a city? That would be a piece of wood or hard plastic used as a toy. All right, so you see how some words can have many definitions. Let's finish up on the next page. Turn over to 443. We've got 2 words I want to look at. The words are story and yard. Okay, think of the word story first. What are the definitions that you've heard of for the word story? Okay, we probably all are thinking of the same one. Story is something like Miss Gaylord's been reading every day. She reads a little story out of here. Okay, a story might be a group of words that tell about something that happens. Okay, a story, something you read. A sentence is the story is about the first school in our city. Did you know that a story can also be the different levels in a building? Okay, our building is a 3-story building at Savannah Classical. There's a bottom floor where you go. Then if you go on this side of the building, there's an elevator where there's a 2nd story and a 3rd story. The middle school is on the 2nd floor. High school is on the 3rd floor. Okay, so that can be a definition of story. A floor or level. Here's the sentence. The Empire State Building has 102 stories. Now listen to this one. I want to know the definition of story. Is it something you read or is it a level? Number 1. Our teacher read a story about how our school was built. Which one is that? You would write the definition, a group of words that tells how something happened. Number 2, what does the word story mean in this sentence? The school used to be only 1 story tall. Okay, that would it be something you read, or is that a floor or level in a building? You'd write a floor or level in a building. Perfect. Now, the next part you'll look at is yard. 2 definitions of a yard. Where have you heard a yard? Okay. Think about math. A yardstick. Good. Okay. A yard can be also go outside to your yard. Good. So number 1, the definition is a noun, an area outside of a house or building. And definition number 2, an amount that tells how long something is, a yard. Tell me which one I mean. Number 1, long ago, our school did not have a yard around it. Is that a unit of math or is that something outside your house? That's an area outside my house. Number 4, How now our big playground is almost 50 yards wide. Is that outside your house or a unit of amount that tells how long something is? It tells how long something is. So your job today was to learn how dictionaries give several meanings of the words. If you've printed out your papers, that's a great thing to look at and go back and do. There'll be other reading quizzes that are on the Google Classroom this week. You've just gotten your 3rd star, and guess what you get this time? Okay, who is that? I know. You know. Some of you know. Even my guys know. All right. Now, let's move on to tell about the directions in science. Have you kept up with science this week? Now, Monday, you had to watch a video. The video was about 4 minutes and it was on spiders. You got some information about spiders. And then Tuesday, you read a book called The Diary of a Spider. And the book had questions, a quiz that went with it. You had to take the quiz that goes with the book, A Diary of a Spider. Today, Wednesday, is your job to, there's a Google form. Miss Gaylord has typed out a Google form on spiders. She gave you a paragraph about this big to read, and then you had to answer 10 questions. That's what you're doing today on spiders. Have you enjoyed some of the things that you've learned on spiders? I hope so. I have. I've learned a lot, and I know you have too. Have you put it to use in our book that we've been reading? Okay, we've got 2 more days of reading. After tomorrow, would be Thursday, you can then take the end of the book test that's in your Google Classroom. Do not try to take it before. You won't know the answers to the questions if you try to take it before. Now, yesterday we learned that where is Charlotte and Wilbur? Where are they? They are at the fair. The county fair comes along once a year. If you lived back then when they lived, it would have been a fun thing to look forward to. You would have gone with your family. You would have spent the day or 2 days like they are, and you would not only ride rides and play games, you would also look at contests. They're having a contest. And as we left off yesterday, Fern and Avery went home with their families and left Wilbur at the county fair with Charlotte and Templeton. And they went home to get some rest because the next day would be the big day where they found out who won the prizes. Now, we know from yesterday that Charlotte is getting a little bit tired. Does anybody know why Charlotte is getting a little bit tired? Charlotte gave some clues yesterday. She said, Wilbur, she said, I am now making something for me for a change. She has to make something for herself. And we'll find out today why she said that she won't be writing any more words in the web. Now, Charlotte has written a word. So yesterday we learned that Templeton found a word for Charlotte to write in the web. Do you remember what the word was? Okay, what word would Charlotte be writing? Templeton found it before he went off for the night. Humble. The word, 2 reasons. It said Wilbur was not proud, which means he wasn't all bragging and saying, I'm all that. He was humble. Humble can mean low to the ground or not proud. It's better to be not proud of yourself than all puffed up saying, I'm great, right? Wilbur is humble. And so Charlotte chose to write that in the web. Who was able to help Charlotte find the word? Templeton the rat. Now Templeton is off for a night in the of fun, basically in the county fair. Okay. Charlotte tells Wilbur before he goes to sleep, that she will show him in the morning her masterpiece. What does the word masterpiece mean? Your greatest thing that you've done. So what could it be that Charlotte's making? A masterpiece? Let's think, okay? Today's chapter is chapter 19, called The Egg Sack. The next morning, when the first light came into the sky and the sparrows stirred in the trees, when the cows rattled their chains and the rooster crowed, and the early automobiles went whispering along the road, Wilbur awoke and looked for Charlotte. He saw her up overhead in the corner near the back of his pen. She was very quiet and her 8 legs were spread wide. She seemed to have shrunk during the night. Next to her, attached to the ceiling, Wilbur saw the most curious object. Hmm. It was sort of a sack or a cocoon. It was peach colored, and it looked as though it were made of a lot of cotton candy. Are you awake, Charlotte? He said softly. Yes, came the answer. What is that nifty little thing? Did you make it? I did indeed, replied Charlotte in a weak voice. Is it a plaything? Plaything? She said. I think not. It is my egg sack, my magnum opus. I don't know what a magnum opus is, said Wilbur. That's Latin, replied Charlotte. It means great work. It is my great work. The egg sack is my great work. The finest thing that I've ever made. Well, what's inside it? Asked Wilbur. Eggs? 514 of them, she says. Now, this sack she got off her web. Okay, she got off the web and she went to the corner of the barn here and she's attached this sack. Okay, spelled S-A-C. And inside that sack is what? Eggs. How many eggs did she say was there? 514 little eggs in that sack. So does that mean there could be 514 spiders come out? It does. It could be if they all live. Let's see what happens. She calls it her what? Her magnum opus, her masterpiece, her great work. 514, said Wilbur. You're kidding. No, I'm not, said Charlotte. I counted them. I got started counting, so I kept on. The counting kept my mind occupied. It's a perfectly beautiful egg sack, said Wilbur, feeling as happy as though he had just constructed it himself. Yes, it is pretty, replied Charlotte, patting the sack with her two front legs. Anyway, I can guarantee that it's strong. It's made out of the toughest material that I have, and it's also waterproof. The eggs that are inside will be warm and dry, she said. Charlotte, Wilbur said dreamily, are you really going to have 514 children? Well, if nothing happens, yes, she said. Of course, they won't show up until next spring. Wilbur noticed that her voice was sounding sad. Now, what time of year is it now? Okay, it's still in the end of the fall. And she says they won't show up till next spring. Well, what makes you sound so downhearted? Wilbur said. I should think you'd be terribly happy about this. Oh, don't pay any attention to me, said Charlotte. I just don't have much pep anymore, okay? Do you know what pep means? Energy. I guess I feel sad because, she said, I won't ever get to see my children. What do you mean? Said Wilbur. You won't see your children. Of course you will. We'll all see them. It's going to be simply wonderful next spring back in the barn cellar with 514 baby spiders running around all over the place. And the geese, they'll have the new set of goslings, and the sheep will have new lambs. Maybe, said Charlotte quietly. However, she said, I have a feeling that I'm not going to see the results of last night's efforts. She said, I don't feel good at all. I think that I'm languishing. To tell the truth, she said. Wilbur didn't understand the word languish, and he hated to bother Charlotte, asking her more questions. But he was so worried that he felt that he had to ask. He said, Charlotte, what does languishing mean? It means that I'm slowing up. I'm feeling my age. I'm not young anymore, she said, Wilbur. But I don't want you to worry about me. This is your big day today. Look at my web. She'd already written what? The word humble. Doesn't it show up really well with the dew on it? Charlotte's web never looked more beautiful than it did this morning. Each strand held dozens of bright drops of early morning dew. The light from the east struck it and made it all plain and clear. It was perfect for designing and building. In another hour or two, a stream of people would be passing by, admiring it, reading it, and then looking at Wilbur and marveling at the miracle. As Wilbur sat studying the web, a pair of whiskers and a sharp face appeared, and slowly Templeton dragged himself out of the pen and threw himself in the corner. Look how big he is now. What do you think Templeton's been doing? Eating and drinking all night. I'm back, he said in a husky voice. What a night! The rat was swollen to twice his normal size. His stomach was as big around as a jelly jar. What kind of figurative language uses like or as when you compare it? A simile. It says his belly was as big around as a jelly jar. What a night, he repeated hoarsely. What feasting and carousing. A real gorge, he said. A gorge is a big when you eat a lot and you can't stop eating, that's a gorge. He said, I must have eaten the remains of 30 lunches. Never have I seen such leavings, and everything well ripened and seasoned with the passage of time and the heat of the day. He says, oh, my friends, it was rich. Templeton said, it was rich. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Charlotte in disgust. It would serve you right if you got an acute attack of indigestion. Don't worry about my stomach, snarled Templeton. It can handle anything. And by the way, I've got some bad news, said Templeton. As I came past the pig next door, you know, that one that calls himself Uncle, I noticed a big blue tag on the front of his pen. That means he's won first prize. I guess you're licked, Wilbur, he said. You might as well relax. Nobody's going to hang any medal on you. Furthermore, I wouldn't be surprised if Zuckerman changes his mind about you. You wait till he gets a hankering, which means he wants it bad, a fresh pork and some ham, crisp bacon. He'll take the knife to you, my boy, said Templeton. Be still, Templeton, said Charlotte. You are too stuffed and bloated to know what you're saying. Don't pay any attention to him, Wilbur. Wilbur tried not to think about the rat, what he just said, but he decided he'd change the subject. Templeton, said Wilbur, if you weren't so dopey, you would have noticed that Charlotte's made an egg sack. She's going to become a mother. For your information, there are 514 little eggs in that peachy little sack, said Wilbur. Is that true, said the rat, eyeing the sack suspiciously. Yes, it is true, replied Charlotte. Congratulations, murmured Templeton. This has been a night. And he closed his eyes, he pulled some straw over himself, and he dropped off into a deep sleep. Wilbur and Charlotte were glad to be rid of him for a while. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Arable's truck rolled into the fairgrounds and came to a stop at Wilbur's pen. Everybody climbed out. Look, cried Fern. Look at Charlotte's web. Look what it says, she said. The grown-ups and the children all joined hands and stood there studying the new sign. Humble, said Mr. Zuckerman. Now, isn't that just the word for Wilbur? Everyone rejoiced to find that the miracle of the web had been repeated. Wilbur gazed lovingly into their faces. He did look very humble and very grateful. Fern winked at Charlotte. Lurvy soon got busy. He poured a bucket of warm slops into the trough, and while Wilbur ate his breakfast, Lurvy scratched him gently with a smooth stick. Wait a minute, cried Avery. Look at this, and he pointed to that blue tag on Uncle's pen. This pig, he's won first prize already. The Zuckermans and the Arables stared at the tag. Mrs. Zuckerman began to cry. Nobody said a word. They just stared at that blue tag. And then they stared at Uncle, and they stared at the tag again. Lurvy took out a handkerchief and blew his nose very loud. So loud, in fact, the noise was heard by stable boys over there at the horse barn. Can I have some money? Asked Fern. I want to go on the Midway. You stay right where you are, said her mother, and tears came to Fern's eyes. Well, what's everybody crying about? Said Mr. Zuckerman. Let's get busy. Edith, bring the buttermilk. Mrs. Zuckerman wiped her eyes with her handkerchief. She went to the truck. She came back with a gallon jar of buttermilk. Bath time, said Mr. Zuckerman cheerfully. He and Mrs. Zuckerman and Avery climbed into Wilbur's pen. Avery slowly poured buttermilk on Wilbur's head and back, and as it trickled down his sides and cheeks, Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman rubbed it into his hair and skin. Passers-by stopped to watch. Pretty soon, quite a crowd had gathered. Wilbur grew beautifully white and smooth, and the morning sun shone through his pink ears. He isn't as big as that pig next door, remarked one bystander, but he is cleaner, and that's what I like. So do I, said another man. And he's humble, too, said a woman. She read the sign on the web. Everybody who visited the pig pen had a good word to say about Wilbur. Everyone admired the web, and, of course, nobody noticed Charlotte. Suddenly a voice was heard on the loudspeaker. Attention, please, it said. Will Mr. Homer Zuckerman bring his famous pig to the judge's booth in front of the grandstand? A special award will be made there in 20 minutes. Everyone is invited to attend. Crate your pig, please, Mr. Zuckerman, and report to the judge's booth promptly. For a moment after the announcement, the Arables and the Zuckermans were unable to speak or move. And then Avery picked up a handful of straw and threw it high up in the air and gave out a big yet loud yell. The straw fluttered down like confetti into Fern's hair. Another example of what? A simile. Simile. The straw fluttered down like confetti. Mr. Zuckerman hugged Mrs. Zuckerman. Mr. Arable kissed Mrs. Arable. Avery kissed Wilbur. Lurvy shook hands with everybody, and Fern hugged her mother. Avery hugged Fern. Mrs. Arable hugged Mrs. Zuckerman. Up overhead, in the shadows of that ceiling, who was still there? Charlotte. Charlotte in the sack. Charlotte's front legs encircled her egg sack. Her heart was not beating as strongly as it usually did. She felt weary and old, but she was sure now that she'd saved Wilbur's life. And she felt peaceful and contented. Well, we have no time to lose, shouted Mr. Zuckerman. Lurvy, help with the crate. Can I have some money? Asked Fern. You wait, said Mrs. Arable. Can't you see that everybody's busy? Put that empty buttermilk jar into the truck, commanded Mr. Arable. Avery grabbed the jar and rushed to the truck. Does my hair look all right? Said Mrs. Zuckerman. It looks fine, snapped Mr. Zuckerman, as he and Lurvy set the crate down in front of the Wilbur. You don't even look at my hair, said Mrs. Zuckerman. You're all right, Edith, said Mrs. Arable. You just keep calm. Templeton, asleep in the straw, heard all the commotion and awoke. What do you think the word commotion means? Okay, all the fuss, the noise. He did not know exactly what was going on, but when he saw the men shoving Wilbur into the crate, he made his mind up that he'd go along. He watched his chance when no one was looking, and he crept into the crate, and he buried himself at the edge of the straw. All ready, boys, called out Mr. Zuckerman. Let's go. He and Mr. Arable and Lurvy and Avery grabbed the crate and boosted it over the side of the pen and up into the truck. Fern jumped aboard and sat on the crate. She still had straw in her hair, and she looked very pretty and excited. Mr. Arable started the motor, and everybody climbed in, and off they went to the judge's booth in front of the grandstand. And as they passed the Ferris wheel, Fern gazed up at it, and she wished she was at the top car with Henry Fussy by her side. Special announcement, the loudspeaker said in a pompous voice. The management of the fair takes great pleasure in presenting Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman and his famous pig. The truck bearing this extraordinary animal is now approaching the infield. Kindly stand back and give them some room to proceed. In a few moments, the pig will be unloaded and the special judging ring in front of the grandstand where a special award will be given. Will the crowd please make way? Let this truck pass. Thank you. Wilbur trembled when he heard this speech. He felt happy but dizzy. The truck crept slowly at a low speed. Crowds of people surrounded it, and Mr. Arable had to drive very carefully in order not to run over anybody. At last, he managed to get all the way to the judge's stand. Avery jumped out and lowered the tailgate. I'm scared to death, whispered Mrs. Zuckerman. Hundreds of people are looking at us. Cheer up, said Miss Arable. This is fun. Unload your pig, please, said the loudspeaker. All together now, boys, Mr. Zuckerman called. Several men stepped forward from the crowd to help lift the crate. Avery was the busiest helper of all. Tuck in your shirt, Avery, cried out Mrs. Zuckerman, and tighten your belt. Your pants are coming down. Well, can't you see I'm busy, said Avery in disgust. Look, cried Fern. Look, there's Henry. And she pointed. Don't shout, Fern, said her mother, and don't point. Can I please have some money, she said. Henry invited me to go on the Ferris wheel again, and I don't think that he has any money left. He ran out of money. Mrs. Arable opened her handbag. Here, she said, here's 40 cents. Now don't get lost, and be back at our regular meeting place by the pig pen very soon. Fern raced off, ducking and dodging through the crowd in search of Henry. The Zuckerman pig is now being taken from the crate, the voice on the loudspeaker said. Y'all stand back for an announcement. Templeton crouched under the straw at the bottom of the crate. What a lot of nonsense, he said. What a lot of fuss about nothing. Over in the pig pen, silent and alone, Charlotte was there, resting. Her two front legs embraced the egg sack. Charlotte could hear everything that was said on the loudspeaker, and the words gave her courage. This was her hour of triumph. As Wilbur came out of the crate, the crowd clapped and cheered. Mr. Zuckerman took off his cap and bowed. Lurvy pulled in his big handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the sweat from the back of his neck. Avery knelt in the dirt by Wilbur's side, busily stroking him and showing off. Mrs. Zuckerman and Mrs. Arable stood on the running board of the truck. Ladies and gentlemen, the loudspeaker said, we are now presenting Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman's distinguished pig. The fame and the unique animal has spread to the far corners of the earth, attracting many valuable tourists to our great state. Many of you will recall the never-to-be-forgotten day last summer when that writing appeared mysteriously on the spider's web in Mr. Zuckerman's barn, calling the attention to all the fact that this pig was completely out of the ordinary. This miracle has never been fully explained, although learned men have visited Zuckerman's pig pen to study and observe the phenomenon. A phenomenon is something that happens that's out of the ordinary. In the last analysis, we simply know that we're dealing with supernatural forces here, the man said. We should all feel proud and grateful. In the words of the spider, ladies and gentlemen, this is some pig. And Wilbur blushed. He stood perfectly still and he tried to look his best. This magnificent animal, the speaker said, is truly terrific. Just look at him, ladies and gentlemen. Note the smoothness and the whiteness of his coat. Observe his spotless skin, the healthy pink glow of his ears and snout. Is that buttermilk? Whispered Mrs. Arable to Mrs. Zuckerman. Note the general radiance of this animal. Remember the day that word radiant appeared on the web. Whence came this mystery writing? Not from the spider, we can rest assured that. Spiders are very clever at weaving their webs, but needless to say, spiders cannot write, said the loudspeaker. Oh, they can't, can they? Muttered Charlotte to herself. Ladies and gentlemen, continued the loudspeaker, I must not take any more of your valuable time. On behalf of the governors of the fair, I have the honor of giving a special prize of $25 to Mr. Zuckerman, together with this handsome bronze medal, suitably engraved, in token of our appreciation of the part played by this pig. This radiant, terrific, humble pig is attracting so many visitors to our great county fair. Wilbur had been feeling dizzier and dizzier and dizzier during this long complimentary speech, and when he heard the crowd begin to cheer and clap again, he suddenly fainted away. His legs just collapsed, his mind went blank, and he fell on the ground. Wilbur was unconscious. What's wrong? Asked the loudspeaker. What's going on, Zuckerman? What's the trouble with your pig? Avery was kneeling by Wilbur's head, stroking him. Mr. Zuckerman was dancing about, fanning him with his cap. He's all right, said Zuckerman. He gets these spells. You see, he's modest. He can't stand praise. Well, we can't give a prize to a dead pig, said the speaker. It's never been done. He isn't dead, hollered Zuckerman. He's just fainted. He gets embarrassed easily. Go run for some water, Lurvy. Lurvy sprang from the judge's ring and disappeared. And Templeton poked his head out of the straw. He noticed that Wilbur's end of the tail was in reach. Templeton grinned. "I'll tend to this," he chuckled. So he took Wilbur's tail in his mouth and he bit just as hard as he could bite. And that pain revived Wilbur. And in a flash, he was back on his feet. "Ouch!" he screamed. "Hooray!" yelled the crowd. "He's up. The pig is up. Good work, Zuckerman. That is some pig." So who saved the day again? Templeton. Everyone was delighted. Mr. Zuckerman was the most pleased of all. He sighed with relief. Nobody had seen Templeton. The rat had done his work well. And now one of the judges climbed into the ring with the prizes, and he handed Mr. Zuckerman two $10 and a $5 bill. And then he tied the ribbon around Wilbur's neck. He shook hands with Mr. Zuckerman while Wilbur blushed. Avery put out his hand, and the judge shook hands with him too. The crowd cheered, and a photographer took Wilbur's picture. A great feeling of happiness swept over Zuckerman and the Arables. This was the greatest moment of Mr. Zuckerman's life. It is deeply satisfying to win a prize in front of a lot of people. As Wilbur was being shoved back in the crate, Lurvy came charging through the crowd carrying water. His eyes had a wild look. Without hesitating, he dashed the water at Wilbur. And in the excitement, he missed his aim, and the water splashed all over Mr. Zuckerman and Avery, and they just got soaking wet. "For goodness sake," bellowed Mr. Zuckerman, who was really drenched. "What ails you, Lurvy? Can't you see this pig is all right?" "You asked for water," said Lurvy meekly. "I didn't ask for a shower bath," said Mr. Zuckerman. And the crowd roared with laughter, and finally Mr. Zuckerman had to laugh too. And of course, Avery was tickled to find himself so wet. Immediately, he started to act like a clown. He pretended he was taking a shower bath, and he was rubbing imaginary soap under his armpits, and then he dried himself off with an imaginary towel. "Oh, Avery, stop it," said his mother. "Stop showing off." But the crowd loved it. Avery heard nothing but applause. He liked being a clown in a ring, with everybody watching and him in front of a grandstand. When he discovered there was a little water left at the bottom of the pail, he raised the pail high in the air and he dumped the water on himself, and he made faces. And the children in the grandstand just screamed with appreciation. And at last things calmed down. Wilbur was loaded up into the truck, and Avery was led from the ring by his mother and was placed on the seat of the truck to dry off. And the truck, driven by Mr. Arable, crawled slowly back to the pig pen. Avery's wet trousers made a big wet spot on the seat. Now, we will find out tomorrow what happens at the end of the book. I hope that you've been following along with us. After tomorrow, there'll be a test there, a quiz you can take that's already loaded on your Google Classroom. So make sure that you don't take it until we get through reading tomorrow, okay? We've learned lots of interesting things from this book on spiders and on friendship. What have you learned so far about Avery? About Charlotte and Wilbur. You've learned that who has proved to be a good friend? Charlotte. Do you think that she'll be able to save Wilbur's life in the end? If you had to make a prediction, a guess, is Wilbur going to be able to be saved? We'll find out tomorrow. Thank you for listening. You got your last bit of the stars for today, and you got the whole scene from the story of Frozen. There you go. All right, guys, take care. And don't forget to get everything done. If you have anything missing, you will not be able to finish on Friday. Check your Power School. Do you see any missing blocks in Power School from these weeks? Make sure that nothing is missing, okay? And Miss Gaylord will see you tomorrow, okay? Thank you for a good lesson. See you then. Bye-bye.